It's Thursday, September 29th, and we are having a stamp class today. And today's class is all about the Texture Chic Suite. It's found in the annual catalog, and it consists of a stamp set, die set, a pack of designer series paper, and it has a specialty pack of, it's called distressed gold paper. And so that's what makes up the suite, and it is a fabulous suite. And I can't believe it's taken me until now to dive into this amazing, gorgeous suite of products. So, Kat, hello, good morning. She is here. Lori Healy, hello, and good morning to you. And so I say, since there are people on, we will officially begin with good Thursday morning. The moment has arrived for Technique Time Stamp Class. This is the biggest class of the month. And you know, this one kind of, I got a little carried away. Sorry. It's been a few months since we've had like prep work, but I think it's gonna pay off. But yeah, there's a lot of die cutting in this class, and I just kept going, but that's okay. It's gonna be fun. Hello, Valerie. Good to have you here. Thanks for the good morning, Lori. That, you know, when those comments come up, it helps me to know that the feed is working. So we are going to begin. And Kayleen says, hi from Snowbird. How fun. So you and Steve are up there this week without your kids, question mark. How fun, how pretty. Take pictures, I wanna see the leaves. All right, I'm gonna flip my camera and we are going to get on with a little bit of business, and then we're going to get on with some definite stamping. So let me stand up, let me switch everything around. Here it goes. Yes, she says she is at Snowbird. It's her and Steve. She and Steve are having fun hanging out there. Okay, for those of you who don't know where Snowbird is, it's in the Rocky Mountains in the state of Utah. Beautiful place. Haven't been there for a long time, but anyways, so have fun, Kayleen. All right, coming up next week, excuse me, I have a tickle in the back of my throat all of a sudden. Kayleen says, great job on the tribute cards for the Queen. Yes, if you haven't seen that, today we are flooding social media with a tribute to Queen Elizabeth. And so my color that I focused on for my tribute was pale blues. So I focused on Pool Party and Balmy Blue. So check it out. They're pretty. There's a whole bunch of pretty cards. Hi, Jan. It's great to have you here. And Jan, you must be in so Jan, you're in Nevada this month, in Mesquite. I noticed I had a different address for you. How fun. People must be playing and having a good time. All right, going back to this. Spooky treats. It's coming up next week. We're gonna upstyle our paper pumpkin. I'm not sure how much I'm gonna upstyle this because I really like these treat boxes, and that's what I use at Halloween time. I don't necessarily use cards at Halloween, but I'm gonna do something fun with the Spooky Treats paper pumpkin kit. My mom is watching. Hello, Mama. Good to have you here. And coming up the week after that, Use It Up. Many of you received a Use It Up kit in your Technique Time packet. This coming up kit will be for Christmas cards. And we're going to be using up the Celebrate Everything Designer Series paper. We're going to use up some of it, and we're going to use up the rest of it in December's Use It Up class. We're going to focus on Christmas cards. I'm going to use the Merriest Moments stamp set and the matching dies. You guys, you know, I think you could really pull out any Christmas set that you really like. Kayleen, I know you have the is Decorated with Happiness. That would be a great one for this class. The candy canes, anything you have. Maybe you have trees, snowmen. Just bring it and let's create together. That will be in 2 weeks on the 13th. Pickup class for October. I'm going to feature the Amazing Silhouettes stamp set and matching dies. So we'll take a look at that. But again, you could bring your own supplies and your own stamp set and mimic the layouts, the folds, you know. And in October, our big class of the month, Technique Time, will feature the Fond of Autumn bundle. So I have the stamp set here, and the stamp set is fabulous. And I'm just going to draw your attention. If you haven't seen this set, there's kind of like a little channel between all of this. And that's because the dies will cut this out as one large piece or as 4 individual pieces. So it's really, 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 really cool. This is a great set. Plus you have dies to cut out all of these other pieces as well. So I'm going to be using Fond of Autumn next month if you need to get prepared. I'm also going to incorporate the Fall 3D folder. So I don't know if you can kind of see this. It's really pretty. It's fall leaves. But if you're wondering what's coming up, that is what's coming up. So you might want to get ready for that. That will be October 27th and 29th. Oh, I have the 27th and 29th. It's Thursday and Friday. So obviously the dates are wrong here. So we got to fix that. So somebody help me out. I don't have a calendar handy. I don't know if it's going to be the 27th and the 28th or the 28th and 29th. But we'll get that squared away. It's our usual time, Thursday and Friday. And then there will be a paper pumpkin class in November. And just so you guys know, this kit is available right now. You have until the 10th of November to sign up for this one. Sorry, the 10th of October. You know, as we're talking about different months, I get a little screwed up here. 10th of October to sign up for this. This is going to be Christmas cards. So if you like Christmas cards, this is going to be a kit for you. It's got some classic Christmas colors, and you know, it's going to be a lot of good fun. Yes, October 10th. Kayleen's got me on the straight and narrow here, getting me squared up. October 10th. Then in November, just to kind of put it out there, the Technique Time is going to be earlier than normal because of Thanksgiving. So instead of being the last Thursday of the month, and we're going to be on the 17th and 18th, and that's going to be the Boughs of Holly bundle. So we're going to be doing a lot of Christmasing in November. So thank you, Jolinda. She says it's the 27th and the 28th. Okay, so usual timing though of Thursday and Friday. Okay, on with the show. We're done with the business. Time for our class. Now this, oh boy. So this is a big thick bundle of stuff. So let's be careful how we're going to kind of take things out. First off, I have to draw your attention. There is a tiny piece of paper towards the front of your packet there. And it was in the stack of supplies, but I couldn't remember what it went to. So I packed it anyways. So if we are short a piece of paper, there it is. But I don't think we are. But anyhow, you know, I was kind of losing my mind, going crazy with this particular class. But if we take the contents out carefully, you have your smalls bag. Have that handy. This tag here and the pink ribbon. I love this pink ribbon. I'm not even quite sure what it's called. I should have looked it up. It's in the annual catalog. I think it's polyester pink. I don't know. Somebody help me out. Anyhow, this will be for our Christmas card. So we'll set that aside. And then we have the rest of this stack. Here's that piece that I said I couldn't remember what it was for. So we'll just get that out of the way for now. And then Jolinda has a question. Is there a Zoom meetup of this tomorrow night? Yes, we are meeting at 6:30 Mountain Time on Zoom. Same Zoom number as always. It was in an email that I sent out earlier, but I'll give you the number right now. It's 901-771-5257. And y'all know the password. It's all caps, ink spots. Anybody can come. Even if you didn't purchase the class, come chat. Maybe you have the paper and you have the suite. Join us. You're totally invited. Okay, speaking of paper, here we are right on top. So these are the papers from the pack of Designer Series paper. And these are specialty papers. And aren't they? Look at all that lovely gold foil in there. And then here are the back sides of all of these pieces. This is fantastically gorgeous paper. Hello, Alicia. Great to have you here. This piece of paper here that's in your kit, it's white on the back. This is the distressed gold specialty paper that's part of the suite. It's not part of the pack. It's a separate purchase. But look at how pretty this stuff is. Ooh, yes. Very, very pretty. Okay, also in your kit, so the Texture Suite has some matching cards and envelopes. And then it also has some matching Memories and More cards. So this is, I thought we would test these out. They're a little bigger than our standard card. Okay, but look at these pretty envelopes here. Okay, so they came that way. So this will be for our summer card. So we'll just set that aside for right now. And actually, I think let's start with our summer card, since those are the pieces that are on top here. Okay, so we're going to start with summer. And summer and spring, because I'm coming from California, they kind of go hand in hand. You can still go to the beach and flowers are blooming. So we've got a floral card, we've got a shell card. So spring, summer. So let's grab all of the pieces. So you're going to need the this tiny little petal pink piece, okay? And you're going to need the white and the vellum and this frame. And it looks like I am missing, there should be another piece of petal pink in your stash. Mine's probably around here somewhere, but you have another long piece of skinny petal pink. I'm not quite sure where it went. Okay, well that's okay. I know how I'm gonna fix it. See this petal pink here? Remind me to put it back in the stack of where it belongs. But I know I can use that because I have plenty of that for the leaves in that project. Okay, so leave this stack the way it is. I'm just going to set that out of the way. Now go to you're going to want that distressed piece of gold, and you're going to want this piece here. It's shells on the back and it's polka dot on the front, okay? Good morning, Terry. Glad you are here. Good to have you. Okay, and so I said we're going to also need this piece here since we were there. And the card we're going to make, I'm sure you might have seen it online, but this is really pretty. I'll just bring it in. So we just have a lot of ooey gooey lovely shells that we're going to add in here. But let's kind of go through some of the things we're going to be doing. There's some techniques in here that you might not actually see, but I'll point them out because there's a lot happening in this card. So let's start. I'm just going to set those out of the way for just a second. I'm going to set my card base out of the way for just a moment. But let's start with our die cutting. So our die cutting, and hopefully you've done it, but what I want you to do is grab your vellum and grab your pink polka dot and the crosshatch. And I want you to move this all the way down to the very, very bottom, like so, and die cut those out, okay? And you can do both at one time. You might have to go back and forth, or if you flip it like that, for some reason this die works really, really well flipped that way. Now, I'll also tell you what's handy is to have like a garbage bowl and your brush for your take your pick tool so that you can clean out all those little pieces. And it's easiest to do it after you've die cut it while the papers are still in the die itself, because then you have that resistance against that to try and poke those out rather than just trying to be here poking them all out, okay? So do that, die cut those. Hopefully you did that while I was chattering about, okay? And then save the rest of this. But it's really important that this goes way down here at the bottom because we need to get a second one out of this and a 3/4 inch strip for another card. But I know you can do it. So I have my pieces die cut ahead of time because I did do the prep work, okay? So, and let me just bring in, I'll do another plug, a shameless plug for the Dollar Tree, folks. These little designer trays from the Dollar Tree, are awesome because look, I have my 4 cards kind of divided up here. So these are the pieces that we're going to need. Okay. I actually have a couple of these little trays, both in use at the moment. So there's my vellum. Okay. And then there's my pink polka dot. And what I really love is how, you know, you don't even notice that it's actually a piece of polka dot paper anymore, but it has beautiful gold and pink in it. Okay, so that's the first of the die cuts we're going to need. Then with this piece here, this smaller piece of the, this is petal pink, your smaller piece, what you will need is you're going to cut 2 of the shells. And again, I've done mine ahead of time. If you follow the prep work, hey, look, I found that piece of paper that I was missing. Nice. Now I can put the other one back. Okay, so you're going to use, and this is another little shameless plug. Sorry, it's a big magnet here on the bottom of this and it moved the camera. So this, I use this. This is another handy tool that I use. So this has a huge magnet on the bottom, okay? And I use this, so I open the dies and I just have them all in here. This I think is meant for like screws and things. It came from Harbor Freight. I have 3 of these from my dad. So I use, these are things I use while I'm stamping. This goes right by my Big Shot, my stamp and cut and emboss machine. So these are the 2 shells you're gonna need from the petal pink. So die cut those out. And while you're here at the shells, you're gonna need this shell. So in the prep work, I'm calling these clams and this a shell because I could not for the life of me remember the name of this shell. I know you're all gonna tell me right now. Jolinda, help me out. Okay, so petal pink, you're gonna cut those 2. Then from the gold, you have a bunch that you need to cut as well. So, and when you do these, I want you to put them right up to the very, very edge here. Like really put them in nice and tight so that you can get all these elements in on this piece because there's a whole list of things that we're cutting from this. So for this card, you're gonna need 2 of these shells, okay? Like I say, I've got mine ahead of time. And you're gonna need 1 of, so you don't need that big guy. So you're gonna need 1 of the small clams, okay? So we're just kind of collecting all the pieces that we're needing here. So that's gonna do it for the distressed gold and for this small piece of petal pink. You can set that aside, okay? And then what you will need on your white here, okay, and I want you to do these right up at the very, very top, okay? You're going to cut 1 of the small clams and you're going to cut 2 of these shells, okay? And when you cut those shells, what I want you to be really careful and you know, try and do this is to save the inside, okay? So I mentioned that if you read the notes closely in the prep work, I'm not saving the insides of these 2 little ones. That's just tricky. But I did save the insides of these 2 bigger sections, okay? And then I just have them stuck onto a piece of washi tape for right now. That was just how I could kind of keep them intact, okay? So when you do that, I want you to put these up at the very, 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 very top because we're gonna be stamping this piece. So let's do some stamping. The first thing we're going to stamp are the seashells. So here is the clam, and here is the detail of the clam, okay? So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna bring in my petal pink ink. I accidentally grabbed Blushing Bride. Nope, you want petal pink, and we're gonna be using gray granite. These are gonna be our main stamp colors for this card, okay? So petal pink first. And that's going to be the more solid of the 2 clam images. Okay, and stamp these way down at the bottom here so you have plenty of room to get everything in. So there's 1. Cool. And here's the second. Oh. I just read Nicole's comment. She goes, not regretting getting this kit. Good, I'm glad. It's a great stack of products from Stampin' Up. Okay, so now I've inked up. This is gray granite, okay? And that is the detail. I'm like, what should we call this? It's a 2-step, so it's the top step, okay? Looking good right there. Now this seems a little dark, but what I noticed is it does kind of lighten up as it dries, okay? There you go. There's that stamping. While your ink pad is out, I'm gonna grab the word thanks, okay? And thanks, we're just gonna tuck this right on top here. Give yourself enough room, all right? So that's the stamping that we need for that. And now you can see you have enough room to get your, you need to get these 2 shells out of that, okay? So the 1 small clam and that one. And let me just double check, that is everything. Okay, cool. So once you're done with all of that, I still need to die cut these 2 right here. I have not done those ahead of time because I'm stamping with you. So you're gonna use the open die to die cut that. So I'm gonna die cut those. I am gonna shut this though, so I don't have any accidents, if you know what I mean. Okay, and I'm gonna kind of put some of these aside so that I don't lose them. And then we have all of our pieces here that we're gonna need. All right, so let me die cut these. Okay. So Kayleen likes the handwritten font. I agree, it's nice. It's kind of, it's just refreshing, and it definitely fits the vibe of this stamp set. All right, here's my first shell. Okay. Ooh, I did that one really well. Sometimes they get a little bit off, but I call that art. It's okay. Yeah, okay, here goes the second one. All right, so while I'm cutting this one, let me ask you guys, I have already die cut, or I've already fussy cut, I should say, this next little bit that we need to do. You tell me if you want me to fussy cut or just skip ahead. So what I'm talking about fussy cutting is we need to fussy cut the word thanks, okay? We need to cut that word out. I have mine done, but if you want me to do it now so that you guys, you just tell me, no, do the fussy cutting now or just skip ahead. Just let me know, and I will do whatever you would like. So tell me what you want to do. I just didn't want it to take too long, if you know what I mean, because sometimes, it takes a long time to do all that, and then we would be here until 1:30 instead of 12. Okay, so hi, Suzanne. Good to see you here. Okay, Kayleen says skip. Okay, so skip. There we go. My thanks is there. Have mine done ahead of time. So next up, what I want you to do is grab your frame and grab your your white stamp pad. Oh, and Kayleen and Kat says cut. Okay, well, Kat, did your kit arrive? That's what I want to know, is if you have your kit. So I'm gonna cut. I know Kayleen said to skip it, but we'll cut it. But what I do want you to do is get your craft pad out, because that will be our next step. I will cut this. And let me just show you what I do when I do cut these, is I cut it out so that it's manageable, so I don't have this huge piece of paper, okay? And I gotta use that for my shells. But when I do this, like I say, so I get some of this stuff out of my way, put that in the garbage bowl. I'm gonna start with the hardest part first, okay? Oh, good, I'm glad it arrived, Kat. This to me is the hardest part of this cut right in here, in there, okay? So I do that first so that I have more leverage and paper to work with. If I've done all the easy parts and then I come into here, that's how I have a tendency to bend and put a crease in the greeting, okay? So you can see how I have just a little bit more, like I say, leverage to work with things. When I worked for Opera San Jose, the technical director, the guy was huge. He was like a moose, and he could move bits and pieces really easy. And my friend and I, she was my assistant stage manager, we would struggle, and he'd go, ladies, leverage is your friend. And so he taught me about how to work leverage. And so I know it's not a big, heavy set piece, but I get the whole leverage business here. Okay, so then I'm just coming in, and now I'm just going to be tootling all around that because now I've got the hard part done. Okay, coming around the corner here, cutting it a little close, but that's okay. We'll just make the rest of it a little close. Okay, so tell me, does anybody have Halloween decorations out just yet? Anybody? Anybody? I have a few. I got a really cute little haunted house from Kayleen. It's out. And then Newell found in the grocery store of all places this really adorable Dia de los Muertos doll. I mean, she's really cute. Okay. Okay, so a few things. That's why you wanted to see the fussy cutting, Kat says. Yep. You know, everybody fussy cuts a little different. I know some people say, turn the paper. Well, you know what? I do turn the paper, but I also turn my blades. So I do both. I think one of my biggest tips is start in the hardest spot first. And then the other one is don't shut your blade all the way. Don't ever shut your blade all the way. Sometimes I do it, but for the most part, I don't. And the reason I don't is because when you shut it all the way, it has a tendency to bend it ever so slightly, bend your paper. Lori has fall things out, and Nicole's daughter decorated while she was away this past Saturday. Not yet, coming this weekend. Yeah, I don't have a bulk of things out, but I have a couple just because they were given to me. And you know, last year I didn't get out much of my Halloween stuff. I just kind of wasn't in the mood. I don't know why. But I have bought some pumpkins. Bought some really beautiful pumpkins. Bought a big, huge fairy tale Cinderella. And then I also bought a nice Jardinelle, which is that gray-green. And then I also bought a light pinky one. Not the cheap ones. They cost double the price, but they're so pretty. Whoops, got a little close there. Oh well, call it art. You even decorated, that's awesome. You decorated at Snowbird, Kayleen. When we would go to the beach house for the fall, for the month of October, we would decorate the beach house with Halloween stuff. In fact, in my Halloween decor, I have all the dishes from the beach house. They're all Halloween spiderweb plates and cool things like that. They're really cute. Those I should find. That would be fun. Haven't seen those or used those in a while. So Suzanne says she hasn't bought any Halloween. I haven't bought as much because I already have so much. You know, sometimes I'll buy a little here and there. I did buy, the only thing I've bought this year, I did buy a bag of spider webs. Bought a bag of spider webs because I wanted the spider rings inside them. But that's my big purchase, again, from the Dollar Tree. I spent $1.25. Okay, just coming in here to this last little bit. Okay. And there you have it. And then I do like to go in, I don't know if you can see right here, I've got kind of some like harsh angles here. And I like to just kind of snip those off so that they're a little bit smoother. Okay, it's where I wasn't turning my paper as well. But there you have it. That's how I fussy cut. Okay, I'm just gonna scoop this into my garbage bowl, which Kayleen said, that's a fancy garbage bowl. It's not a, it's only a garbage bowl for today. It's usually just a bowl. Okay, so our next step, we're going to take our Whisper White ink pad, and I'm gonna knock the color down just a little bit on this here by and I have some scratch paper under me, but I'm just doing a direct to paper technique here. And I'm just pouncing this, okay? Here and there. And it's kind of making it look a little on the beachy side. Okay? And I'll pick this up in a second so you can see it more close up. Okay? Let me just grab that. So there you can kind of see a little bit of pouncing, not a whole bunch. So Suzanne's asking, how are you using the rings? What rings? I'm not quite sure. Okay, so I'm just gonna add a little bit more. And this is a little wet. This is, you know, it's craft ink. So I'm gonna take my heat tool to just give it a, you know, just to help it along, to dry it just a little bit faster. But Suzanne, so you're gonna have to tell me, I'm not sure about rings, so, because I don't have any rings in this, but I am gonna bring underneath me, I like to, when I'm using my heat tool, I like to have like one of my plates underneath me. Look at how gross and how used this plate is. But that way, I don't know, I just don't like, when you put your heat tool on this paper, it starts to curl, and that drives me crazy. Okay. Oh, the spider rings. I was thinking tree rings. Okay, so the spider rings, I have them decorated on some treat bags and things. I like to use them. Sometimes I cut the ring portion off and just hot glue the spider into things. The Dollar Tree had some really cute ones a couple of years ago that had purple jewels in them. And we used those on some decor that we did. But they're cheap. I like to have them on hand. I tuck them here and there in decorations and whatnot. So, okay, here we go. We're going to dry this. Okay, that might not be entirely dry, but good enough. Okay, yeah, it's still a little wet. You could take a blending brush and kind of blend that, or a sponge if you want. But that's how I actually started my card, so I wanted to share that with you. Now we're going to take this and glue it, and I'm just going to center it right, left, top, bottom, okay? Yeah, you know, Alicia, I was just reading your comment that you really like that effect on the frame. It does. It's just a little bit of a difference, you know? And sometimes that's what it takes in, you know, like an artfully avid style card, is that there are hidden little techniques here and there that just, you don't have to do it, but it does elevate things just a little bit, you know? So there you have it. Okay. So now it kind of still kind of keeping that little bit of that beachy feel to it. Okay. So a couple other techniques we're going to do. These are going to stay the same, but let's take these two shells right here. So the two clam shells. What I want to do is I'm going to grab this piece here. Okay, this is the shell that's the top step. Okay, so if you're doing the two-step, this is the detail image of the clam shell. I'm going to clean it because it does have gray granite on there. Okay, and I'm going to grab my water painter, and we're going to give this just a little bit of a quick, just paint them with water, real easy. Okay, Kayleen says, since not home, is the frame die in the bundle? No, that's a very good question. This frame die is from, what is it called? It goes with the set Good Greetings, but I can't think of what the name of the set is. I can post it for you later, Kayleen. Okay, so I watered that up. I got it nice and wet, okay? And I'm just adding a little texture to it, okay, with that stamp. So I'm painting with the stamps. And it dried a little bit while I was just sitting here. I can even ink that back up and, you know, even kind of water on here and just stamp these a couple times. Let go. It doesn't matter if it smudges because we're just going to kind of move it all over. Do you see how I'm just kind of letting it land wherever it gets there? And wherever it lands, that's what's going to get. Okay. So it's just adding some ink in, rather than just painting the ink on the way we often do. It's just giving us a little bit of some highs and lows. Okay. Suzanne says, did I study design in college? That's an interesting question. And specifically not design, but I studied choreography. And the design elements kind of, there's a use, there's definite, well, I won't get sidetracked with that, but yes, there is kind of some design and choreography. So anyhow, so I hope you can see that. If you look closely at the finish card, even on this one here, you can really kind of see it right in there and right in there. So it's not just straight petal pink. So if I turn that over, now you can kind of see the difference between them. Okay. Again, those little hidden techniques just kind of bring things to life. Speaking of bringing things to life, let's bring to life these white shells here. I'm going to take my petal pink, give it a good squeeze. Okay, so that I've got enough ink in there. And, excuse me, take your aqua painter. Okay, get it juicy. And we're just going to paint these, okay? And I'm not doing a super ton amount. And if you have highs and lows, that's awesome. We're just trying to make them so that they're not just stark white. Okay? There you have it. So, Kayleen, I'm just reading Kayleen's comment here. She's talking to Suzanne through the comments. Okay, so there you have your shells. Now I think we have all of our elements ready to make this. So I'm going to have this sitting by here so that we can put things together. Let me take this out of the way. Slide that out of the way. Okay. And let's bring in our card base. And so the first thing I'm going to do is these two pieces that we die cut from the vellum and from the designer series paper. It doesn't matter how you put these on, upside down or whatever, but I'm doing one on the bottom and one kind of up here on the top like that, okay? So there is that. And I like to attach this. It's not going to show because you can see we're going to put all these shells on here. I'm just going to do some snail right up in here and some down here where this one's going to go. Just kind of load it up. And then as you start to attach your pieces, it's all going to help it stick down even more. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So we'll add things and we'll be gluing it and that'll hold it down plenty. All right. Maybe this one I should move over. It's kind of off the edge here and I don't want it to get crinkled in the envelope. Okay. There we go. So there is that. All right. So let's start with I think the easiest thing to do, here I said we were all ready to go and we're not quite ready to go. So there's our thanks, but we do have, remember the piece that I lost earlier and found? Okay. I do have that piece. That's going to come in here. But also in the prep work, I said you're going to cut 2 of the crosshatch from this and we've already cut 1. You're going to need to cut another one. Whoops, sliding things out. And then you need to cut a 3/4 inch piece from the top of this piece of designer series paper. We are using these papers right down to the nubbins here, you guys. So let me get my paper trimmer in here, and I'm going to take 3/4 of an inch off. Okay, and if you get those 2 crosshatch pieces in there nice and tight, you'll have way more than 3/4 of an inch left. You'll have about 1 inch and 1/8, plenty of room. Okay, but there's my 3/4 inch piece. Now I have all the pieces that we need. Now, you can flag these ends with the banner builder punch, or you can just simply snip little flags in the ends with your paper snips. But I'm going to use the punch here, and I'm going to do these right on the end. Okay, there's that one. And I just let it go flying. There's that one. Same thing here. Put this little guy in. Okay, oops, I got it stuck in there. Hello, it's really stuck. Okay, hold on, folks. We'll get it out here. There we go. Other end. All right, what would I do without the banner builder punch? I'd snip it, but I do like this punch a lot. It doesn't get put away very often. It pretty much stays on my desk. Okay? All right, so now this is kind of our background, the frame and the 2 crosshatch. Now I'm gonna add in the pink here. Okay, so we can kind of do this at either angle that you want, but this is gonna be the background to really kind of boost the word thanks here so that it really stands out, okay? And once I do that, then I can kind of build my decor off of that. So let's layer this on, okay? So let me just do a little glue here, and we will. So Kayleen, there's a little punch, there's an old flag punch that I still have as well, that I do use every now and again. It was a little tiny thing, but boy, did I like that. Okay, so there's my strip. Okay, I've got ink on that. I mean, not ink, but glue. Now I'm gonna put some dimensionals on the back of this, and this is where minis are definitely gonna come in handy for you. So, and you may have to cut some of these minis down, but you can fit one there. That's nice. And you can fit one in the K. I cut this one a little tighter than I did my first card, so I'm gonna have to do a little trim in here. So we'll have a few extra pieces like this. Do you guys cut your, I mean, nothing like cutting minis that are already mini, you know? Whoops, let's turn this over so it actually sticks. There's that. And then we'll get this guy on. That should be plenty. We'll do it on the H. Okay. So Kayleen says, no, it's that other one that retired last year. It wasn't for tags. Oh, do you mean like the tailored tag punch? Because that was a good one for giving like a wider dip. Okay, so this is what I do when my dimensionals are still too big. I just kind of go in and use the tips of my scissors to give those dimensionals a bit of a haircut. Okay, and I'm gonna offset this to the left, or sorry, to the right. Okay, there's that. And now I'm gonna set this on to my base, my card base that we've got all designed with dimensionals, okay? And before we actually put it on to the card, okay, and I'm kind of spreading these out, I'm leaving a little bit of a hole in the middle for my piece of linen thread that's gonna go in there, okay? So I don't know if you can see it, but there is a piece of linen thread right in here, okay? So in your smalls bag, you have 2 pieces of linen thread. They're very similar in size, so it doesn't matter. You can pull out either one. Okay, so grab one of those. There it is. And just tie it in a bow. It's like, try to get it centered. I never get them centered very well. And I find the easiest way to get them centered, to get the bow centered on the cut piece of linen thread, is to do the 2 bunny ears, because that gets it close enough, okay? So then once you get it tied, give yourself some pretty big loopy ends here. Make your loops pretty big so that then this can kind of set in there and it can split, if you know what I mean. Okay, but I'm gonna have to do a little bit of training because this isn't really going the way I want it. And I use my thumbnail to just say, okay, go this way. And now this can set down and it's gonna go right about there, okay? Like so. So I need to tack that down. And the easiest way to tack it down is, I'm just gonna use a glue dot here. You could use a glue dot, or you could, you know, squirt a little puddle of glue, or you could use your stamp and seal, but trying to run the seal over the crosshatch little die cut piece could be a little bit obnoxious. So we'll just use a little die cut, use a little glue dot. And then as we come in with this, that will help anchor it in place as well. Okay? All right. So now as I adhere this, I'm looking at the polka dot piece and I want it to be parallel with the frame, centered and parallel with the frame. Okay? There you have it. Okay? Okay, now for the fun, adding in all the decor. So these 2 shells, so we have one of these and one of, and so I'm looking right here, one of the gold, okay? And so that is gold, it just flipped over. So rather than peeling this off of this washi tape, I'm just gonna make life easy and just keep it attached so I don't have to sit there and glue everything inside. But I'll just fold over these edges that I don't want to be seen, okay? And now I can glue that one on and glue this one on. And they're kind of right down there in the corner, okay? So I'm using just regular old green cap glue. And let's see, just trying to mimic my first one here. Put that one in there. And then just little dots of glue on this. And it doesn't have to be all over, you know, just enough to hold it down. And it looks like I actually did this one upside down. And it's just right in there, okay? So there are those 2. We're working ourselves up. Okay, so next up we have the clamshell here. And this is where you could use minis on this, but we've done this a lot where we are going to do a partial dimension here. So I want the top to be dimensional, but this end is going to glue, okay? So that end glues in. And I'm gonna lift my linen thread and just kind of tuck it right under there, like so, okay? And that little bit of dimension starts to kind of build things, and it allows me to tuck things in other places. And we have this one. This one's gonna glue in, and I'm just gonna glue the bottom, kind of like I would a leaf. Okay, that one's right there. Okay, looking good, looking good. This one, I'm just allowing the paper kind of has a little bit of a curl to it because we painted it. So I'm not adding any dimensional, but it's going to layer in there. Okay. And then the white one, so this was white cardstock and it's painted. This is going to be the one that tucks back over here. Okay, so it's actually behind both of those shells. And my glue just got all over the place, so I'm just kind of using the shell to move it around. It dries clear. That's the great thing about it. Now I think as we go to this side, I'm actually going to put this one on first. And let's do the same thing we did, and that is to put a dimensional on one end. Okay, and then we'll glue the opposite end. And this one, if you look close, I actually have it under the crosshatch piece here. So just kind of tuck that in there. Need to come down a little ways. Okay. This pink shell, this is the white one. No, sorry, this is petal pink that we stamped with water and got it kind of a little bit more of an interesting color. Okay. And this one's going to tuck under in there as well. And then the last two shells, okay. So this one here, I'm going to trim some of this washi off here. Let's see if I can't just get it to fold. No one's going to see it, but this side I am going to cut all this off. Okay. Okay, like I say, fold that washi under, or however you've held your pieces together. Okay, now this one I glued in, and it's kind of glued right into here. And then this one's kind of coming up in that space. My spacing's a little bit different, but it's all good. It doesn't have to be exact. And this one is going to go under, kind of tuck right in there. Cool. Pretty. Okay. 2 things left to do on this. Let me grab the pearls that are in your kit. Okay, so they're in your smalls bag. Carefully bring those out. We're going to add some pearls, and you know it. She's invited to the party. So while she's here, let's go ahead and give this a squish. Get it primed, but not over your project. You want to prime over your scratch paper here. Just kind of get her go. There she goes. And see, I even used some of that right there. And let's paint these, definitely these big clam shells. Okay. And then I even did some on these. Petal pink. And this guy gets it. Oops, I see a dimensional cover there. Can't have that. Okay. You could add some wink wherever you'd like. Okay. Oh, thank you, Valerie. That's sweet of you. She says, gorgeous. Okay, so let me see here. I've got this funny dimensional in there. I've got to get rid of that. That's gone. Now, if you want to just give it a flick, you can. Add little sparkles here and there. You know, sand and shells do sparkle. We'll give this, intensify that one a little bit more. And now for the pearls, take your pick tool, and I'll just kind of point out, I don't have a bunch on here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've put 4 on for this. So it looks like, I'm not quite sure. I think these are smalls or a variety of. So I have a small one tucked right in there. Yep, small, small, small. I guess I did all smalls. Okay. It doesn't matter. And then there's one in there. And then I did a couple right in this larger section. Okay. So there you have it. I'm going to move this one just a little bit. Then once I know where my pearls or my accents, sequins, rhinestones, whatever it is, I kind of touch them, and then I go in, and if I'm like, yep, that's where I want them to be, I go in and give them a little bit of a push with the tip of my, when the lid is on, with my take your pick tool. And that just kind of helps to secure them nice and sturdy, that they're definitely in place. Okay, there you have it. We have done summer, or it could be spring, like I say, spring at the beach, or it could be fall at the beach. It's good. Can kind of do that at those beach climates. I was trying to see where my envelope was. Here it is. Okay, so there you have it. There's my matching envelope. You don't even need to stamp it or anything. It's already designed for you. But there you have it. There's our first card done. Glad you like it. I like it. It's just so, it's a little bit different than what I would normally do with some shells and whatnot. but fun times. Okay, so fun times. We're gonna keep going with some fun times here. I'm just trying to find the card. What did I do with the next card? Hello. Here it is. It's backwards, so I was only seeing the back. Okay, so now it's upside down. This card here is, if you remember, we made a rainbow card a while back that had the same layout, although we tied it shut. But this one, so this opens like this to reveal a pocket, and then you can open it again to reveal the inside where you can write something. So this is kind of like a card within a card, if you know what I mean. So let's design this all together. Let's create it all together. So if you bring your big stack back in, okay, bring in the big stack, you're going to need everything from Blushing Bride up, okay? Blushing Bride up, and then let's just move this stack back, okay? That's what we're gonna need. So our card base is a half sheet of Blushing Bride. You're going to need 2 pieces of basic white, 2 quarter sheets. One's gonna be for the inside and one's gonna be for all of our stamping and funness that we're gonna do. You're going to need a piece of gray granite. And this piece of gray granite is 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. Ha, surprise. So 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. And on one edge, it has a 1/2 inch score. Okay, so that's if you're making your own kit from home. And then the largest circle from Stylish Shapes, a scrap of Pool Party, and a couple scraps of Pale Papaya. All right, so that's what we're gonna do. So I say, let's start with our stamping first, because we have a lot of stamping involved in this that you might not actually, the flowers stand out, but there's some other things that you might not be aware of. So we're going to start with Pale Papaya and Blushing Bride. Those are gonna be our main colors. We're also gonna use Gray Granite, and we're going to bring in Versamark and Gold Embossing Powder, okay? So with those handy, let's start with Pale Papaya, and we're gonna start with the swipe, or the brush stroke, whatever you wanna call this cool piece here. There's lots of fun ways to use this. We are gonna create our own patterned paper with this. So I'm inking up in Pale Papaya, okay? Then I'm gonna open up Blushing Bride, and with Blushing Bride, I'm going to take this and I'm just gonna kind of pounce some lines in the stamp, okay? So I don't know if you can see that very well. I'm not gonna worry about blending them at all. Don't worry about it, okay? But just stamp them right to the very, very edge, okay? And I know that looks kind of weird, but that's okay. You'll see why it's okay in just a second. Okay, we're just trying to get some variety of color here. So here's Pale Papaya again, and then a few taps, and maybe I'll do a little less this time. Okay, so there you see I have just some little stripes in there, and then stamp that right next to it. Okay, that's what we're gonna do with that. And then with this, what I'm gonna do is we're going to cut out 3 flowers. What's really cool about this set of dies is there's an open die. So there's the open flower die. And then they give you, they give you 2 to 3 of these kind of detailed type dies, which is fun. So on this, I'm gonna go ahead and place these on this stamped paper right there. And so that is how I stamped. So that's the paper for this flower, and this one right here. Jen Mallet says, hello all, happily working from home and able to pop on in between meetings. Well, good. I'm glad I'm your in between meeting entertainment. Good to have you here, Jen. All right. So that's where the paper for those 3 flowers, that's where that's going to come from, okay? So now we also have a whole bunch of other flowers we need to do on here, okay? So we need to stamp 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 flowers on here, okay? So we have those 3 flowers we need to do. Yes, so we have all of those yet to come here. So let's see, let's start with the first one. So let's start with the one that's on the inside first, because there's only one of those and that's the lightest color. So with the flower stamp, so you have the flower stamp, the kind of the solid image, and then you have the detail image, because this is a 2-stepper. So with Pale Papaya, I'm going to do my first flower here. We'll just stick this, well, we'll stick it over here. Okay. There's Pale Papaya. And then on top, I'm going to do Blushing Bride. Okay. And I look for, see that bump in the, let me bring that closer up. See this bump right there? I look for that one. That's the easiest way to line that up. There that is on that image. Let me just give it a little more ink since we were chatting. That's the easiest way to line this one up, I think, okay? And if it's not exact, it totally doesn't matter, although that one's pretty exact. I surprised myself. Okay, now I'm gonna switch to Blushing Bride, and I'm gonna put Pale Papaya away because we need 4 Blushing Bride flowers, okay? Is it 4? Yes, we need 4, okay? 4 Blushing Bride flowers. And let's see here. I also want gray granite handy, but there's my solid image. I also want my scratch paper nearby. Okay. So with the flowers here, I'm going to ink up in Blushing Bride, and I'm not stamping off. I am just tapping, just barely touching off. Okay. I just don't want to fully lose all of my color. I want to try and keep as much as I can. Okay. So there's 1 Blushing Bride. Okay, just do a little tap off. 2nd Blushing Bride. Tap off. A 3rd Blushing Bride. Whoops, got that one a little close to the edge, but that's okay. It's totally okay. And then we'll do a 4th one. Okay, and while you have this image in your hand, give it a clean. And we're going to bring in another color here that we haven't been using, and that is Pool Party. Okay, so with Pool Party, we're gonna do 1 last flower. And this flower you may not have seen. You're like, wait, there's only 5 flowers, but there actually are 6. Okay, so there's Pool Party. So we're done with this image here. Now we're gonna move to, and we're done with Blushing Bride. So we can get those out of the way. We can also get Pool Party out of the way. But let's use Gray Granite while we're here. So with Gray Granite, I am going to stamp 1 of the blush and the Pool Party. The other 3 are gonna get gold embossing powder. Now, why I did this and had like different colors, I don't know. It's just how I designed it. I was just having a good time. Just tootling down the stamp way and just kind of going, oh, this is fun, this is fun. Just kind of making things work. Okay, here is this image here. Okay, there's that. All right, clean that image, because now what we're gonna do is we're going to emboss these 3 with the detail. Okay, so bring in your embossing buddy, and I'm just gonna kind of swipe over these flowers right there. And bring in Versamark, okay? And just do the same thing we've done. So we're gonna complete these 6 flowers here. Here's 1. I know you can't see it, but it's there. I can't see it either. And that one. Okay, beautiful. Okay, get this out of the way. Bring in my very old Tidy Pal, my Tidy Tray, Powder Pal. Is that what they used to call it? Powder Pal. I think that's what it was called. Okay, so this is gold embossing powder. Just shaking it on those 3. Okay, I'm gonna give it a little bit of a flick. And then I have a paintbrush. Look at this, actually is an old Stampin' Up! Paintbrush back in the day. And I'm gonna brush this. So in the July, December catalog, they have a more up-to-date version of this, but it's the same principle. You've got a tray. It's not bright pink like mine. You've got a tray, a brush to sweep your product back into the bowl, the jar, the bowl, whatever you want to call it. And then you have an embossing buddy, and you have reverse tweezers. So it's a great little kit, but I already have all those elements, so I'm just bringing mine out from years ago. All right, heat tool time. Here comes the noise. Okay, bring in my tray or my plate so I'm not directly on my paper getting it all curly. There it goes. There goes the second one, almost done. And now this third one. All right, there you have it. Looking good, looking good. Okay. Kayleen says, I'm impressed you have the old items. I guess since I moved 7 times, I've lost some of those things. Well, yeah, I've definitely just moved once. And I'm like, where is such and such? And I can't find certain things. I'm like, I know it's out here in the garage somewhere. Okay, so now we have some definite die cutting to do. You're going to cut out all the flowers with the open die except for one. Okay, so there's the open die on all of those. Hi, Tandra. Glad to see you here. So open die cut all of the blush and the papaya. And then with the closed or the more detailed die, we're going to cut this one right here. Okay, so that's all we're going to be using of that. Okay, so that's where you're going, what? Where did she use that? So that's where that last flower is. And there's just a little bit of pool party peeking through, but it just kind of was inspired by this paper here, and that it peeks through in just these slight little places. So, really study your papers and be inspired by them. Okay, so that's what you're going to do there. Plus, remember, we have the 3 that we're cutting out of this right here. Okay, so that's all listed in the prep work. And I have mine done ahead of time, so you don't have to sit here and wait for me to do all of these. Okay, so bringing in my big, there's a dead bug. That's nice. little gnat, gross. Okay, so bringing in that tray from the Dollar Tree, I find this very, very handy. I mean, I've been using just kind of like trays and things before, but this is like awesome. So this is my cubby for this particular card. I'm going to need all of these pieces. We'll go over these. They were in the prep work, but you saw all the stamped stuff we just did. Now there's a whole bunch of die cutting to be done with our pool party. This is the smaller of the 2 pale papaya pieces. That's the one you're going to use to die cut. Okay, and let's go back to the piece of gold. Okay, and so this is what we're going to be cutting for this. You're going to need 3 of the leaves. Okay, 3 of the leaves in gold, and that's 1 small and 2 larges. You're going to need 4 of the mini snowflakes, aka they kind of look like a COVID spike. Spit. And then you have another 3 set, or not 3 sets, but another set of 3 of the pool party. Okay, so those are the pieces. And just remember, when you're die cutting from this piece, you're squishing it all up and in there. Okay, so as you can see, I've done mine ahead of time because we didn't want to be here for a bazillion hours. Again, we're making very detailed, artfully avid style cards, and so it's going to take just a little bit more. Now we're going to need some pieces of paper from our pack here. Okay, I'm using this one here. This one on the back is the lining from the envelope that we just did. Okay, so that's pretty. So we have that one. And then we're also going to be using, not that one, That one right there, okay? So the front of this is really, really pretty, but we're actually gonna be using this side, okay? So it matches the flowers. And let's just kind of, let's do that right now. Let's get to cutting some of that. So for this piece here, we are actually going to turn it, okay? So it's already 4 inches wide. We're going to turn it and cut it off, and this is what we're gonna use for the pocket on the other side. That way we see both pieces of the paper. You know, sometimes you're like, oh, I want to use both sides. Okay, so this piece here is going to be 3.5 inches. Okay, so 3.5 inches on this piece. That's pretty easy cut. 3.5. Okay, that's for the front of our card. This is for the pocket on the inside. And then this piece of floral print here, this piece, it's already 4 inches wide. I've cut that down for you. So we need it to be 5 1/4. Okay, so 4 by 5 1/4. So you can save that for something if you wish. I didn't, oh wait, I did use it. I think I used it right there. Haha, bring it back, it's right there. Okay, so there's that. Okay, and it looks like we're missing one other piece, but we'll get to that in just a minute. Let's start to assemble this madness here. Okay, let's fold this on the score line. Give it a good crease. Okay, and bring your card up, your card base. And what we're gonna do is this is gonna get sandwiched in between. So this is gonna glue to the inside, and then our second piece of white is gonna go over that. So that will be sandwiched inside. And I'm gonna put that so that it's just centered on here. You don't have to measure, just eyeball. But so give yourself some glue on the tab. Okay. And we'll eyeball center. Now I will say, I am putting, see that little bump of the score line? That's going outside of the edge here, okay? Don't put it directly on the edge. It has to cantilever out just a little bit so that your piece here, we're probably gonna have to trim it, but that it has room to lay in there without getting all buckled up, if you know what I mean. Okay, so we'll smush that on. And now let's just kind of fold this. And now by doing that, by kind of eking that out to that, you know, that putting that score line outside of the edge, that has plenty of room. There's no buckling happening, okay? But let's kind of score it again around that. All right, so now this piece, okay, we cut all these pieces. Look at all this stuff we have out. So this piece here is going to glue right to the center of that piece right there, okay? So we'll just give that a little bit of glue here. Just send it. I haven't decided if I want this darker. I'm like, what way do I want it to go? Okay, so there's that. Okay, and this piece is going to glue to the inside. It looks like we have a little bit more trimming to do. So this needs to be 3.5 as well. And you know, because we cut it this way, you know how it gives it that little bit of, it folds it this way? That's why I run my fingernail across that, is to get rid of that little fold. Okay, so let's make this 3.5. Okay, and before we put it on, we're gonna punch it, and you could use any size circle punch you have. But just take a little bite out of it so that people kind of recognize that it's a pocket and that you could slip, you know, it's a great place to slip, you know, if you want to put some cash in there or you want to put a gift card. So, but knowing that it's going to be a pocket, we're going to just glue the sides and the bottom. Okay. And we'll put it right down here on the bottom. Okay, let's actually try and make it straight here, girlfriend. There we go. All right, cool. While we're at it, this piece here is going to glue to the front of our card base. This is kind of the inside of the card base. I call it the card inside a card. So this is the one on the inside. And I think I'm going to twist this. I'm just feeling these flowers this direction a little bit more. Okay, beautiful. So now we're kind of laying things out. And then we do have a piece that's going to go inside here, but I think what you'll see is as we put this in, it's not going to work. So even though it's a quarter sheet and this is a quarter sheet, we're going to have to take an edge off of this. So I am going to remove just about the same, you know, the width of the trimmer here. So I'm going to put that right on the edge, if you know what I mean. So I'm taking off just that much, okay? Take that much off, check it, see if it will now shut properly. Lovely, very good. And now we can put that in there, but we're not quite ready to put it in there. We have a little bit of stamping to do on this, and then we'll put it in there. So you need the floral image, but I want you to find the detailed one. So this piece here, I was looking all over for it. I'm like, oh, it's right in front of my nose. We're going to stamp it twice with pale papaya. And I'm stamping it. I'm going to stamp one right there. And I'm going to turn the stamp so it's not the same direction. And I'm going to do another one right about there. Okay? That's it for that. And now this glues to the inside. What is your go-to adhesive? Are you green cap? Are you snail? Are you seal? Seal plus? What's your favorite? You have an ATG runner? What's your fancy? Okay, so that's that. This piece is going to run along inside here. Okay, yes, it is narrower. That's okay. Maybe it helps if I push it up. Kayleen says she's green cap. Okay, green cap, good, good, good. I toggle back and forth. It really kind of depends on what I'm gluing, I guess. Okay, so speaking of gluing, I'm adhering this piece. See this edge here? So it's just kind of right in line with the edge of this one. So I have one continual line. And then I'm just splitting the difference. I used to swear by your big pink ATG runner, but now you're a green glue gal. Glad you're converted. I've used the big ATG, but they're a little big, but I get it. I like them too. Okay, so now we are set up to actually add some prettiness here. So speaking of prettiness, kind of like we started the first one, our greeting is going to go on this larger piece of pale papaya. So I'm going to stamp that with the image, the greeting that says, you are amazing beyond measure. All right, that's this one right here. So I'm going to mount that on a block. Let's see, we'll put it on this block here. So we'll take off the swoosh. Anybody have a good name for that swoosh brushstroke? What is that thing? Okay, and I like to make sure my pieces are on here fairly straight. Okay, so there's that one. We're going to stamp the greeting in gray granite. So it looks like most of us here are green cap. I like it. Green glue gal. We're green glue gals. We're 3G. Antoinette says, catching while working from home today. Such a nice distraction to watch you create. Oh, well, good to have you here, Antoinette. All right, so I'm just going to kind of stamp this. I'm kind of stamping off to one side because I'm going to flag the other end. But go ahead, pop that on there. Looking good. Give it a second to really set into those paper fibers and dry. Grab your banner builder punch, you know it, and let's just pop that in there. And let's see if we're going to actually take that much off or we're going to actually take off even a little bit more. I think I'm going to take it off. I'm going to pop it in there one more time and slice off just a little bit more. A little too much of it's hanging on. Okay. That's better. I like that. Okay, so this is going to adhere to your card front with dimensionals. And again, I like to put that greeting on because then I can kind of build the rest of the focal elements, decor elements around that. It's kind of like the landing piece, if you know what I mean. Okay, so I'm going to set this about, oh, maybe 3/4 of an inch up. And you know what? On my original, I aligned this with the paper. Okay, or you could go to the very edge. It's up to you. It's all good. Just make sure your dimensionals aren't hanging out over the edge. Got to watch those mechanics. Okay, so now this is where it gets a little bit weird. Not weird, but so we have one blushing bride that's stamped with gray granite. Okay, that's going to go off to the side. That's inside. This one goes inside. But we want our 3 gold embossed blush flowers. Those are going to be for the front of the card, okay? So the front is like where all the show, you know, all of our big focal images are going here. So Antoinette uses green cap when she needs to be able to align and move around. Good point. Otherwise, she prefers seal because she's a little messy with the glue. Yes. Okay, so that's exactly, I'm kind of the exact same way. When I need those few minutes of being able to slide things around and position, I agree. I totally agree. Okay, so we've got one that's going to kind of come under like so. And then this one here is actually going to go on with dimensionals. So we need one with dimensionals. So Antoinette is exactly right. It's like you either adhere with dimensionals, glue dots, glue, and seal. You have them all kind of in, you know, within your reach so that you can use whatever you're going to need at any moment's time. Okay, so these first 2 flowers I'm going to glue on. Okay, just kind of tucking one under there. And we'll do another one, kind of offset from it. Make sure you don't have glue that's going to stick out because this cantilevers over just a little bit. So you don't want any glue coming out over on this other side. Okay, get that one in there. It's kind of hanging over more than I want, but I've got a dimensional in the way, but that's okay. Call it art. And then this one with the dimensional on the back. Just kind of be aware. I was looking at the flower. I just don't want them to ever be in the same alignment. So I was looking at that big petal that I was using to do the 2-step, you know, making sure, because one's facing there, one's underneath, and one's there. Just put them in different directions so that they don't, you know, just make it more organic looking. Okay. So this is one of the open images that we die cut over the swooshes, okay? So this one's just gonna kind of come right in there, add a little bit of panache in this upper corner here. Get that to stick. And then this one, so these 2 flowers here, this is the one that I'm calling, I call it kind of the flat one, has a flat side to it. Boy, I couldn't spit that out if I tried. A little bit of green cap on that. And I'm taking this little flat side and framing the G in Amazing, okay? Just kind of following that line there. I like that kind of stuff. And this flower here, this one is going to bridge. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue. It's going to kind of suspend across from the flower to the banner here. Oh, I didn't see your mention, Kayleen. I'm sorry. I kind of was, my eyes are sometimes up and sometimes down. It's tricky to manage both, but you can do it. It can be done. So Kayleen, you are whatever it needs to be for the task at hand when it comes to glue. Okay, so there's my glue on the 2 petals that are going to be the bridge across, okay? And we'll just kind of let that dry. Just give it a little push, and it'll dry. It'll stay there. Now, the front has the gold, okay? So we've got our 3 leaves here. So I'm going to do a large and a small on top, and then I'll do one other large tucked right down in here, okay? And I think it's supposed to go under, but however you want it to be. So we'll put this first one down there in the corner. Kind of have to lift this one. Okay, so there's that one. And these two. And again, I'm just doing it on the ends. And this one tucks under. And this one's going to go next to it. Then we have these little pale papaya little mini snowflakes. They're going to go on the flower centers. Okay? So, now to make this a little bit easier, I'm just going to do a little puddle of glue right like that. Don't do a lot of glue because it's got the embossing powder there, and so it has a little bit of a slick surface. But I'm going to shape these just a little bit. I'm going to take the little snowflake here, and I'm just going to kind of hit it with the center of my stylus, or you could use the tip of take your pick tool, and I'm just kind of scooping it. I'm just kind of sculpting it, but scooping it out just a little bit, just to give it a little, it'll flatten out as you kind of, have it in an envelope or put it in your stack of cards. But just go ahead and glue that on there. It gives it a little bit of dimension. Okay, come on, set. Get that to set. And so we'll do the same thing. Just gonna do just a little quick, like that. Pop that on there. Okay, same thing here. We'll pop that on that one. Okay. I just kind of use my stylus to hit those down. We have one more to do, and it's going to go on this one here, okay? So you have two more flowers left. It's going to go on the pale papaya one. So I'm just do a little bit, not a ton because it's on the inside of the card, but we'll get this ready. A little bit of glue there. Okay, there's that one. Now let's prep this flower while we're at it as well. So these two are going to layer together, and I'm going to layer that with a little bit of glue here. Just in the center. Okay, let's line this puppy up. And you can line it up exact or be slightly off. I kind of like slightly off. It's kind of, I wonder why. Kind of just am slightly off myself. I'm going to come back in here and make sure these are setting up. Okay. And to these, let's add some of those pearls that are in the kit for you. We're going to do a small and two large. Okay, so take your pick tool. I like using that, the putty end. So we're going to do a small one in this center flower. Okay. And we'll do a large on this one and a large on this one. Okay, and that's all the pearls for the front, but just give those a good push, okay? And in your kit, you have two tiny little sequins in there. I see one of them. You have a teal colored one and a pink one, okay? And they're in the January-June catalog, and they're part of one of the snowflake sets. But it's a set of adhesive-backed sequins, and then there's some, I don't know if they're big rhinestones. Someone's going to have to help me out with the name, because I don't remember. But they're in the July-December catalog, and I love the colors. The colors are perfect for what we're doing here. So I'm going to take the kind of the tealy blue one, and that's going to go in the center of that flower there, okay? Perfect color. And then this little pinky one is going to go on the inside of this flower. Okay. I don't usually mix embellishments, but occasionally it calls for it. And because it's on the inside, it works. Okay, so those pearls are for your next two cards. So there's the front is done. We're almost done with this whole shebang. Okay, let's get some of this garbage out of the way. We need the big, large circle here. So we're gonna do just a little bit of stamping with this big circle. Okay, so we need the wishing you the best birthday ever. Okay, so let's get to our block that has an image on it. I'm gonna clean this one to put it away. Ha, shocker. She's cleaning it before she puts it away. I don't always do that, folks. When I'm putting it away, I do. But when I'm just kind of using it back and forth, I don't always do it. Okay, so there is the wishing you the best birthday. We need that and gray granite. And we are gonna stamp it, not in the center, but off down towards one corner here. Corner. Is there a corner of a circle? No, but in this bottom quadrant. How is that? In the bottom quadrant, there it is. Our greeting. Okay. All right, now let's assemble this. This is pretty easy. We're going to do this not with any dimensionals, I don't think. Well, let me check. Nope, it's just glue. I thought it was just glue. Because it's on the inside and you just don't want to start to build bulk and not have it close nicely, okay? So you still have a large leaf and a large leaf and the smaller leaf. So I've paired those two, okay? So let's glue that on the inside. So this is card number 2, the inside card. Everything is glued. It kind of goes kind of against my grain of thought of needing some dimension on everything, but occasionally you just can't have it. Now, what you do want to make sure is that it's going to be hidden by that front flap so that they get another extra little surprise, okay? So just watch where you're placing it. Okay. And also watch, so I'm noticing, so when Antoinette said about skating your stuff around, the word ever and you the and ever, they were crooked. So I'm kind of looking at those to make sure that they're parallel with the card, okay? The little details. Glue your flower. Okay, and now you can add your cuteness. There. And again, watch this leaf here that it doesn't peek through. You don't want to give the surprise away at all. I'm going to lift this guy up. There we go. And this is what I'm talking about. So if you shut this, you just want to make sure that that blue leaf doesn't show. Okay? Here goes the next one. Okay. And voila. There you have it. And this one is going to go on the inside, but you have a piece here we haven't quite got to. So we're going to finish the very inside of this card as we start our second card. So just to note here, we have a tiny little love you there. So if you grab your smalls packet, take out one of the small stitched circles, okay? And that's gonna say love you. And that is in your stamp set in the Texture Chic. And I stamped it in gray granite. Okay, little tiny little thing. And I found, you know, I haven't used this little circle shape from Stylish Shapes yet, but now I have. This was just the right size for that little circle. And sometimes a little tiny greeting like that can get lost, but when you add it to something like one of these small little circles, it helps to give it, it just helps to give it presence. It makes it bigger, if you know what I mean. Okay, so I have that going right in here, but I also played with it, you guys, going over in here, kind of accenting this little, the little banner here. So it's really up to you, but we're going to assemble this in just a second. We're going to jump to our next card so that we can die cut our crosshatch, and we're going to cut it apart and share it between cards, okay? So we'll come right back to it, Antoinette says, will you be offering a 2023 calendar class? Yes, we are having a 2023 calendar class. It will be in December. And I will tell you, it is with the Abigail Rose suite. So I'll kind of give you that little bit of information right now. Sure, we can segue to it, no problem. But yes, get excited. It will be in December. It will probably be, I haven't totally decided if it will be before Christmas or between the holidays. I might put a poll out to see what you guys would like. Okay, so we've done spring, we've done summer, now we're doing fall. I love this card. Oh, you guys, if you could see this in person, you can in just a few minutes. You're going to make your own. But let's start with die cutting the pieces that we need so that we can finish the summer card real fast. Okay, so let's talk about them. Well, let's first go to our stack of paper. And for your stack of paper, grab everything from Pool Party up. Pool Party up is this next card, okay? So if you grab this piece of Mango Melody, we're gonna die cut the crosshatch piece with Mango Melody, okay? And so here it is. I have this one done. So let's pretend we're doing that. But what I want to do is I'm just gonna take a little slice of this off, okay? Because I don't need it to be quite so big for my fall card. So when I made the fall card before I made the summer card, okay, the flower card. So just come in here and just kind of clip, and it doesn't have to be exact, but I just took a little section off, okay? Just like that, just take a little section off. We'll set these aside, we'll come right back to them, but let's just finish assembling this card here. So this little piece is gonna lay right in there. Okay, to do that, I'm just gonna put a little bit of snail down, catch that, and now we'll cover that up with this flower. Now, did I put this flower, I got brown ink on it. I got gray granite ink on it. It is glued, okay? So definitely this is gonna glue down. Okay, now I'm looking at these two flowers. There's that bump, there's that bump. I just wanna make sure that it's not gonna be in the same orientation. Okay, and I want that little bit of, crosshatch to show. And now you decide if you want this love you in here or if you want it over here. I even toyed with it here. I think for this card, I'm gonna do this one here. Unlike my original, it was right in here. So you decide, it can be wherever you want. Okay, so, but I just kind of like things to make sense sometimes, you know. It frames out nicely over here too, okay? So either spot. And of course, there's Wink of Stella throughout, so you can put wink on certain things that you like. But so let me just show you, there's that love you there, okay? Or here's my original, I put it right there. It's just up to you. It's just, have a little bit more of the Mango Melody crosshatch on this one. I also have, this one is totally painted with Wink of Stella. Surprise! You knew I would. All right, so now that finishes that up, and we can finish attacking the fall card here now. Okay, get that one out of the way. Bring this back in. Bring this one back into view as well. Let's look at, so now that you have your crosshatch done, let's look at the designer series paper that we're going to use for this card. Okay, we'll just kind of slide these out of the way for now. So, I like this piece of paper a lot. So we're looking for that one there. Okay, so it has kind of the hexagon and then there's the leaves on the back. Surprise! Okay, so Antoinette says, all the little details on this card make it extraordinary. Well, that's kind of the fun. There are times for cards to be quick and, simple, but I like this class to definitely be that highly decorated, artfully avid. We're going for it. We're gonna put a lot into these kind of cards. So that's what these are. So this piece here, and we're going to trim it down to be 3 inches wide. Okay. So let's take this piece, trim it down to 3 inches. We're gonna do the whole thing. 3 inches. Ta-da! Okay. And now we're going to trim this down to 5.5. Okay, not 5 1/4, but 5.5. Make it at 5.5. So you have a couple extra pieces here. Set those aside. Now we're going to cut our own banner on this. So at 1.5, put your paper at 1.5. That splits it. And now, if you look at your ruler on your trimmer, we're going to take our trimmer and we're going to slide it up to the 5 mark. Okay. So basically, we're just cutting up right in the middle, 1/2 inch. Okay. Now, this is how we can make our banner nice and even. By putting that up there, we're going to cut from this corner to that slit point. And when I do this, I do not use paper snips. It's just too short. I can't reach it. I want to use a long bladed scissor and get there in one cut. Okay? So I'm on the point and now I'm lined up for that center and there it is. Okay, in one cut. Now, I cannot do it that way. So, in order to keep it even, and I just flip it over like so, again, put your point right in the scissor, line up, and take one cut right up to the center. And there you have a nice, clean, evenly spaced banner. Okay? Vivian Bell is watching. Oh, so good to have you here with us today, Vivian. Hope all is well. All right, so there are some of the pieces for our card. You can see we've got some stamping and some different things to do. Set these aside. Take the larger of the 2 whites. Now this piece, if you're cutting your own card, I should have told you this is a 4 1/4 by 11 pool party. Okay, this piece here is 4 by 5 1/4. And we're gonna do some embossing. All right, but we're going to do some pre-inking before we emboss. So on the logo side of your time-worn 3D folder, or you could use any folder, you guys, anything that's neutral that you like, that you have on hand. I'm going to take Pale Papaya, and I'm going to get my cards out of the way so I don't get anything mucky. And I'm going to pounce ink on the front of this folder, okay? That is on the logo side, Now, we're gonna stamp off. We're gonna stamp off our embossing folder because I don't want the ink to be that intense. It's just, what did I do with all of my scratch paper? Hello, where'd you go? I've completely lost my scratch paper. Okay, well, we're gonna use this big piece of scratch paper then. So I'm just gonna come in here and I'm just gonna I'm not gonna do it super hard, but I've just kind of swiped across to remove some of that ink and maybe even just a little bit more. I don't want the ink to be very intense in color, okay? So now take your piece. Remember that this is the 4 1/4 by 11. Oh, sorry, it's 4 by 5 1/4. Holy cow, she is just daffy dumb. Okay, so I've put that in my embossing folder and I'm gonna run it through the machine here. Now I have to take out all the plates because we have to put the correct plates in. This is a 3D folder. You're gonna need your base number 1 plate, then your folder, folded edge goes in first, and then number 4, okay? If you don't have these plates, you do actually have them. This is the same height as the multi-purpose platform from Big Shot, and this is the blue plate from Big Shot, okay? Okay, we're gonna run this through the machine. Okay. And this one turned out a little darker than my original. That's totally okay. It's not gonna be exactly the same. So this one you can see here, I just must have stamped off, pulled a little bit more off. Totally okay. That's gonna layer on top like so. Look how pretty that is. Great color for fall. I like it a lot. Okay, so this is gonna just glue right to the center of your pool party. I love the sound of the tip of the glue against the embossed paper. It's like, oh, yeah, kind of cool. Okay, there's that. Now, this is gonna be, we're gonna do kind of our half up, half down. So I am going to put dimensionals right through here. And I'm gonna glue the top end. I do this little trick right here a lot when I have big banners like this on a card. I don't know why, but I just do. There's that. This is gonna go center. Okay, so far so good. Pretty easy. Okay, there you have it. Okay, looking good. Looking all nice and fall. Okay, so this piece here, we're gonna be doing some stamping. This piece here, we're gonna be doing some die cutting. We've already done some of our die cutting, but let's also reach in and grab our piece of linen thread. We'll be using that on this card. And then we're also going to use this larger of the Stylish Shapes. So this is a circle cut from Stylish Shapes. If you have not invested in, we had them before, it was called Stitched Shapes. If you have that, great, use that. If you have Stylish Shapes, this is the newest one, that's what I've used here. Either one is awesome. Just, you know, it's like having some really good, you know, pieces of clothing in your closet. You have to have Stylish Shapes. You just have to. Okay, we're gonna stamp that wishing you the happiest birthday ever, just like we did a few minutes ago. So grab that image and we're going to use gray granite, same color we've been using. This one's going right in the center, folks. No surprises here. Just right in the middle. Ta-da! Looks good. And we're gonna do some other stamping. So let's bring in Pale Papaya. Whoops, Petal Pink, and Blushing Bride, okay? Let's bring those in. I'm sorry, not Petal Pink, I lied. Blushing Bride and Mango Melody. That's what I want. So these are the colors we're looking for. Pale Papaya, Blushing Bride, Mango Melody, okay? And let's bring this piece in so that we have that handy. Now, we haven't gotten them out yet, but let's get out the leaves. So there's kind of some oak leaves in here. So we have the solid image and we have the detail image. So we're going to use those, putting them on some blocks here, okay? Getting those ready. And we're gonna stamp 3 of these leaves. So we're gonna start with Pale Papaya ink. Okay. And Mango Melody ink. And you're gonna need a blending brush for Mango Melody, a yellow. And I'm just gonna kind of, like we did earlier where we kind of pounced a few lines, I'm just kind of adding and dotting some. You can kind of see it on the edges. Maybe I'll add a little bit right in there. But I don't want those harsh lines to show. Let me bring up a piece of paper behind there. See those harsh lines? We want to blend those out a little bit. So I'm just going to tap this. Okay. Give that a little huff since it's been a second or two. Okay. And stamp your leaf. Now, on top of that, we'll put the blush. Okay. And you have plenty of room on this piece of paper. You could even stamp more of these leaves. We only need 3, but you have plenty of room to stamp 4 or 5 if you get them in close. But that's a nice fall blend, I think, these 3 colors. I really like these 3 colors together. So let's do it all over again. Pale Papaya. We'll tap some mango here and there, and then kind of pounce the ink with our blending brush to do just that, blend it so it's not quite so harsh. See, if we kind of move these down here, we can get more leaves onto the paper. And since we are, let's just do another one of these while we have it in our hand. And blend that color. Give it a little huff. All right. See, I like that. I like that they're each a little bit different. And let's put the Blushing Bride on top. There's one. And then this one. Okay. Whoops, that one's a little off, but that's okay. It's totally okay. In fact, we'll talk about where I choose to cut when I'm kind of off on something like that. So I'm going to put these away. Don't need these right now. Okay, but let's talk about some die cutting that we're going to do for this card. I have some done and some not done. That's okay. So you are going to need, out of this piece of petal pink, you're going to need 2 of the large oak leaves and 1 of the small. From your gold piece, going back to the distressed gold, you're going to cut 2 smalls and 1 large, okay? Or you can do 2 large, it doesn't matter, and 1 small, but we need 3 leaves from that. And then you need the open die image to cut out these leaves here. So, and I still need to cut out my leaves. I have all these others done. They're ready to go. Okay. But I don't have these done. So I told you, what do I do? See how this one is not, that one is definitely off. I don't know what you guys do, but I just follow what to do. I don't split the difference. I just follow then the darker of the images, which is the outline image. So that's what I'm going to do in this, okay? So let's hope for the best. Switch your plates back and let's die cut these out. I need new plates again. I'll show you why in a second here. I can't even get things to go through half the time. And then they shift. So my top plate right now is this warped. I mean, and it's not even showing here very much, but it is so, I don't know if you can see, it's so warped. So it's making it really hard to die cut things straight. Because look how my thingy, it jumps over. So guess what I need to get? New plates. And I try and like shift things around. I don't know, I need to know the trick to get it to not do that, but it's good for a while and then it goes totally haywire. I wish we could have non-warping plates. Am I the only one with this issue? I can't be. There's my next leaf. And then my last one here. Okay. Whoops. It's just sliding all over the place. Doing its own thing. Okay. Here goes the last one. All right. Okay, we'll put this back in my little magnetic bowl. So there are our leaves. We're almost ready to assemble the front of this card. We have a few things to do. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to cover this crosshatch with Wink of Stella. Okay, so just get her kind of primed and going. Just paint the whole thing. It just makes it pretty. Okay, and it's sometimes when we start to cover things up, we won't be able to get to it. So I just wanted some sparkle on here for sure. Big time sparkle. Okay, so that's gonna layer in there. And of course, these leaves can get it. I'm just doing them fast. All right, so these are ready. Now, the last thing we need to talk about are these 3 leaves right here. So this is where we're gonna have some fun. And I actually have the piece that I used when I cut them out, because I think that's gonna help me be able to paint these just a little bit better. But I'm gonna pop these back in here, okay? That way, when I go to blend them and do things, I'm not gonna curl them up. So, and the reason I had you cut them first is because the people who porch stamped had theirs cut. But if you want to actually color your paper first and then die cut, you could do that as well, okay? Kayleen says what she likes most about, about this bundle is the versatility of the various seasons. That's right, Kayleen, I agree. And you know, they've had other sets that have been versatile like that, you know, that have been able to do a bunch of seasons, but this has been the first one that really has like totally appealed to me and sticks out, and I'm like, oh yeah, I like that. Okay, so I'm gonna take the papaya and my blending brush here, and I'm just going to kind of hit these leaves in a couple spots, really kind of change the color. And I'm also using a little bit of Blushing Bride on this blending brush and coming in and just kind of go over and create your own turning of the leaf color. Create your own fall leaves. You could even blend in a little bit of, you know, maybe a soft green in here would be cool too. So just kind of changing these up like we did with the shells. Really kind of mix them up a little bit. And then maybe just a little bit more of the yellow in some of your original spots, just to kind of beef that color back up. All right, there it is. Now I'm going to paint these with Wink of Stella. And this changes the color in them as well. Now she's going. She wasn't going very well there for a second. It's about time I refill my Winks of Stella. I've used them all up again. We'll see if I can get a third refill out of them. They might not be quite as sparkly. So, Kayleen, I wish I could send you all the photos. Oh, I know. Well, you could load a photo in a comment, I think. Yeah, I would love to see some of the changing colors. That would be really cool to see all those pretty colors. When I first came here to the Boise area, Nick and I, it was in October, but we drove up Bogus Basin, which is here in the area, and it was like 85 degrees down here in the Boise area. We drove up to Bogus Basin, and we drove through fall, and by the time we got to the top, it was snowing. I'm like, wow, 3 seasons in about an hour and a half. It was kind of crazy. But yeah, Alicia says we love to go leaf peeping in the fall, even in the South. Leaf peeping, that's cool. I've never heard of it called leaf peeping, but that sounds fun. Okay, so let's assemble this now that we have all of our pieces ready. So again, I'm going to start by taking just some snail, or this is Seal Plus. I'm just going to anchor my mesh down here, or your crosshatch, whatever we want to call this. So just, you know, we're just eyeballing it, you know, but I'm not putting the whole thing down so that I can still kind of lift under and get underneath things. Again, I'm going to start with my greeting, put that in there so that I know where my other elements, because it's kind of the anchor element that is going to receive all of these leaves. But don't put that on just yet. I saw it. I caught myself before. So in San Jose, we had a tree in front of our house that had huge leaves on it, like the size of your head. And I kind of miss those big leaves. They were great for decorations. You know, it's like, oh yeah, we could do some fall decorations on the cheap for free. You know, kind of tuck them under pumpkins and jars and add some like different natural things that are just kind of found outside. But no big leaves here. I'm not seeing any. Okay, so I'm just kind of working my linen thread here. And it's kind of sticky in the middle there, so I can just kind of stick it in there. And you know, this is just not behaving, so I'm just going to roll with it. It's going to be a little on the weird side, but that's okay. So this is going to, oh, come on, behave. There's a little bit of stickiness right in there, so we'll stick that. Stick it. Okay. See if we can train it just a little bit. Okay. Now I can put my greeting on. And then we'll add, and this is offset to the left a little bit, but again, making sure that it's reading vertically nicely. Okay, maybe pull that one just, oh, that helped all. That was just the right thing to do. Okay, now we just have to layer in these 9 different little leaves. So I'm gonna start with the white ones. And same deal as the banner, and that is we're going to put dimensionals on the tips of the leaves, and on the stems we will glue, okay? Let's see, do I have any minis left? I know it's kind of running low. Okay, well, we'll just use big guys, that's okay. So, there, and here. Squish those on. Leaf peeping, that's so cute. Alicia, I've never heard it called that. Okay. Glue on that one. And that's gonna just tuck right under. We're gonna let that kind of come off the edge of the paper there. That was my crazy one that moved. But you know what? I don't worry about stuff like that. I used to, but now I'm not. Nah, it's fine. This one's gonna come under. You want that one under your mesh. The crosshatch piece, whatever we want to call that. And then this last one is also under. So these two are kind of together. One lower, one higher. Okay. Well, this just does not want to behave. Okay. Sometimes if you pull one end, it kind of makes it tame a little bit better. Okay, now let's do these pretty ones. Look how pretty these turned out. I love the various colors in them. Okay, so these I'm not putting any dimensionals on. No, thank you. That's just too crazy of an idea. Just a little glue. Tuck that down in there with this one. Overlap it a little bit. And let's add a large gold. Here's my large. And we'll bring that right into here. Cool. Okay, this one, this is the shorter of the leaves, and that's the one that's going to come off to the side here. And this one, my mesh is cut different. I think I'm going to put this one, let's see, where's it going to show up better? I think I'm going to tuck it under. Okay, but I'm going to tuck it under and get it. I want it to be short. I don't want it to look long. I want it to look like a different length. And then this one's going to go between these 2 leaves. This card is just about done, besides pearls. Okay, 2 more leaves and pearls. It'll be time for Christmas. Okay, there's that. I'm going to tuck these just a little bit higher if I can. There we go. That's better. And then these 2. And these 2 are going to be on top of the mesh. Here's one. And the last one. Two. Okay. So there you have it. And just a few pearls. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. So we have 5 pearls. And it looks like I'm using 2 large and 3 small. Yep. 2 large and 3 small. So here's 1. So I have 1 there. And a small. Right here with it. And you guys, you put these where you like them. You know. Come on. Behave. There's that one. I like grouping a small one with a larger one. And then I have one tucked there. And then I have another large way up here in the top that you can't see. There you go. And, whoops. It didn't come off. There it goes. And then one more small right about in here. Okay. And then so you can go through with your cap once you like where you have them placed and really secure them in place. Okay, so these last three are for our last card. There you have it. We have done fall, spring, summer, fall. Now let's do winter. So we're gonna need, paper-wise, okay? We're gonna need both of the two green pieces that are left over, okay? So there's a snowflake side, and then we'll be using this kind of horizontal and vertical gold side. Okay, and of course you're gonna need all the pieces that are left over, okay? And so I think let's just start with some stamping and painting so that it can dry. So grab your, grab the piece that is, it's a stitched rectangle and it is mint macaron. So we're combining mint macaron and evening evergreen. And that was totally, you know, just kind of, the paper said, that's the color we're gonna do. So that's what we're doing. So the first thing we're gonna do, grab soft succulent ink and the snowflake image. So let's see, here's the snowflake. And grab a block. I'm gonna switch my shells out here for the snowflake. Okay. And we're gonna stamp 3 snowflakes on here. And I'm gonna touch off again. I'm not stamping off, I'm just kind of touching off. And I'm gonna stamp 1 off the edge. Kind of lightly stamp off. Twist your image so it's not the same. So we're stamping 3. Here comes the 3rd, and it's gonna kind of come up here, okay? So there's that background. Cute stamp. Keep that nearby. We're gonna be using it some more here in just a second. But to this, we are going to give this a little bit of a squeeze to grab some ink. Whoa, this one takes a lot of, that one's easy to squeeze. Grab your water painter, and we're gonna do just a little bit of splatter. So I don't want a ton, but let's just splatter a few. Okay, let those dry. And now grab Whisper White, and we're gonna do the exact same thing, and we're gonna like create a ton of snow on here. So Whisper White, I did squeeze it. You can't see it too well, but let me clean my brush. Come in here, grab that Whisper White, and let's just load this puppy up. I think this is one of my favorite things to do, and that is to ink cardstock and splatter it and create my own custom cardstock. If you know what I mean, Vern. Okay, so we're just getting this nice and filled out with the white, okay? And while we're doing this step, I'm gonna reach in and grab, take the ribbon off of your, that's a soft succulent tag there. Take your ink off, your ribbon off, your ink. Yeah, right, like that's ink. And let's do the exact same thing. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a squeeze, get some more ink going in through here. And let me just pull my original. Okay, yes, we do have a snowflake stamped on here. I couldn't remember. So same thing, grab your soft succulent. We're gonna put 1 snowflake on here. Okay, slightly stamp off. We're gonna put 1 right there. Okay, and another one right there. And another one right there. Okay, so almost the same thing. Okay, we're still gonna keep that ink handy, but since we have white going, we'll do white first. So here's more white, and we'll just splatter this one. And we'll let these air dry. Okay, and I'm gonna switch to a little bit of soft succulent, just a little bit. I'm not gonna do a ton. Just enough to give it some depth. Okay, so that was soft succulent and white, and of course, she's coming out because this is This is this is just kind of like, in cooking you have like celery, onions, peppers, or celery, onions, garlic, celery, onions, carrot, you know. So this is gonna be our, our triad here. So we've got the color, we've got the white, and then we've got the sparkle. Okay, all over. Now, we will let these air dry. Okay, and there's nothing better than letting it air dry. You could, you know, speed it up with your heat tool, but it kind of spreads the splatters. And you kind of want the splatters to stay more round. Sometimes they don't always stay round, but to be closer like that. Okay, so now let me show you this whole card. And this whole card, I kind of took it apart to check my, to check the snowflakes on the tag. But this is a belly band card. So you slide the belly band off, and it's actually, when you open this is supposed to be one of the bendy pop-up cards, okay? But it's kind of hard to see, but if you kind of, you know, I'm going to teach you how to make this. Rachel Tessman has done a whole bunch of these, and I enjoy going to her blog and seeing her stuff. I think she's just a very clean, very smart stamper. Okay, so here's the bendy pop-up. So when you open it, it has a little bit of a spring to it, okay? But there's also a hidden pocket in here that I'm putting the tag in here. The tag is just actually a 5th project. But I wanted you to see that there's a pocket in here that you could go to put in. Maybe you're having a short little family newsletter for Christmas that could go in here. It could be, you know, maybe you're giving away a nice gift card or whatever it might be. A Ghirardelli chocolate square, but have some fun. So this is what we're going to do right now. We have a belly band and a card base and a tag. Okay, so we're going to do it lickety-split fast. Yeah, right. So let's start with the inside of our card, okay? So we are going to use, so let's take this piece here. So this piece has the kind of the vertical and the horizontal stripes on it. We're going to use this side right here, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this down to be, I have to move my tag and my rectangle there. We're going to cut this down. It's already the width we want. We want it to be 5 1/4 inches wide or long. Okay, so 5 1/4, easy peasy. Now we're going to cut this in half. So it's 4 inches. So we're going to make this be 2 inches. Okay. So now these 2 pieces are ready to go, or this piece rather. Now it's 2 pieces, but kind of keep them in check so that, because when we put them together, we want them to be the right way. Okay, so just kind of keep them the way they should be. Now, since we have the trimmer out, let's take the snowflake piece. Okay, the back of that is kind of a cool look pattern here, but we're going to use the snowflake side. And we're going to trim this one down to 5 1/4. Okay, so that's going to be it for our front. That's all we have to do with that. Now with your card base, okay, I've already folded your card base, but we need to put one more score line in here. So we're going to put a score in there at 4 1/4. Okay, so right down the middle of this. Okay, and that's what's going to make it be a bendy pop-out card. Okay, so add that score in there and you're going to fold it backwards. Okay, so it's going to look like that. So you want to fold it to go that way. And we're going to put a good crease in that. And that's an important step. Okay, so let's put a good crease in that. And I'm going to get rid of this scratch paper. Tidy up the ship here just a little bit. That's what my mom says, tidy up the ship. Okay, so, and we have a couple other pieces here that are going to need some folding. Okay, so you have you have a couple more evening evergreen pieces, and you're going to fold these both inward. Okay, fold them both inward, and let's go ahead and give them a good score. And this piece here, we're going to fold in and then back. Okay, so in and back, in and back, okay? So it's gonna kind of look like that, okay? Kind of looks like a picnic table, upside down. And give those a good score. Okay, there's that and that. And now we'll do this belly band piece. We'll fold that one later. Okay, so let's go back to our pieces. I'm trying to reach for them here. Let's go back to these pieces here. These pieces are designed, these are gonna go and you're gonna glue them right next to each other to make it look as if it's one piece, but it really needs that split in there so that it will bend and it'll do the bendy pop out business, okay? So let's just put those both in the back of the card here. Now you don't have to put a panel back here. I mean, you can do it, design it however you would like. But I've done a couple of these. Okay, so that one, so it's just gonna sit right there at the score line. Don't put it on the score line. Okay, same thing. Right at the score line. Okay, so that's going to line the inside of the card here. Okay, so far so good, right? Pretty easy. So let's just kind of review. When you're doing the bendy pop out, you're doing a gate fold that has another score down the back, okay? This piece here, for those of you cutting your own, this piece is 1.5 inches by 5 1/8, okay? And then I've scored a 1/2 inch on each end, okay? So it's 5 1/8, and that's intentional because it needs to be a little narrower so that it'll pull things in and make it go bendy. So a little bit of glue on each of those tabs. Okay, and now eyeball center. So I'm eyeballing the center here. And yes, I'm inside of those score lines, okay? Because remember, this is only going to be, you know, it's going to be 4 1/8 across because we've, you know, we have 2 1/2 inch tabs on each end. So it is narrower. Definitely. That's okay. That's what we're going for. Now this one here, this one we're going to put glue on the back. I'm going to call this the back and this is the front. A little bit of glue on here. And just kind of fold it up like it's, and center that right on there. Okay. So this piece of paper, if you're cutting your own kit, is 1.5 by 3 inches. It's 1.5 by 3 inches, and I'm kind of holding it in place. 1.5 by 3, and you're just going to score it at a 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 2 inch, 2.5. Okay, so that's how that piece is made. Okay, so that's the mechanics. So that when you open this, that's what's going to help this kind of do the bendy pop out thing. Okay, so speaking of the bendy pop out thing. Hopefully this is dry, mine is dry, and you can do it whichever direction you want, but you are placing glue just on this portion here, okay? And just kind of center that, okay? And I'm pushing down, but not all the way. That's what's gonna help part of the bendiness, the poppiness, the poppy outy. Okay, so that's what it looks like from the top. Okay, so now it kind of needs a little bit of training. I don't want to train it just yet because I want that glue to really be solidified and set before we kind of play with it. But we'll play with it in a minute. Okay, so that's the inside so far. Okay, now we have some stamping to do on this. So with Evening Evergreen ink, so we're switching our greens. We're getting a little bit more intense in color here. We are going to stamp the inside with the snowflake. So take your snowflake image and we're going to set a snowflake right there. Okay, and we'll do another one. And you can do these however you want. If you want it coming off the page, another one right there. And this one here, I'm going to do kind of mid you know, coming to the middle, coming off the page just a little bit. And maybe just a little bit more, just, you know, a little, wherever you want it. Just have a little bit of fun with it. And you're going to, we're going to do a little bit of splattering, maybe not quite as much as we did on the other. We're just going to kind of be gentle with it, just to knock down the color just a little bit. So grab a little bit of more white, a little bit of more white. What does she think? She's Italian? A little bit of more. Squeeze that lid. Let me see what color we have going here. Well, we don't want that green. So I'm just cleaning out the green from my aqua painter here. Grab some white, and I just want, and I'm just gonna kind of bend this back flat. I just want a few right down here. A few little sparkles. All right. My white isn't there. I'm trying to get it to show up a little bit more. And we'll do the same thing on this other side here. Just a little bit. And again, I'm gonna kind of bend that backwards so I can get it to lay flat. Okay, there's that. And then we'll add just a few splatters of Wink. And it's just to soften that cardstock so it's not quite so like stark, dark green. Okay, there it is. Now, this would be a card, if I'm going to do this as a Christmas card, this would not be a mass-produced Christmas card. It would be like if you're wanting to do, you know, some close family or friends or whatever. Okay, so now I feel like I can train this a little bit more, but if you want to pull this forward and start to kind of pop that, see how that back piece is rounding out? Okay, so there it is. So it's going to pop out for you. Alicia likes the white and green splatters. I do too. I like splatters. Splatters are good for me. Okay, so now I'm going to turn this into a pocket. So same thing as we did on the birthday card, on the flowered birthday card. I'm going to pop just a little bit of a notch in there with a circle punch. Okay, now I can take this piece here, and this piece is going to be on the front, okay? But I have to be strategic about how I glue this. So I know that I'm going to have glue down this side and a little bit up each edge to form that pocket. Because if I put glue on the whole thing, then it's no longer a pocket. So just be thinking about that when you attach it. So I'm coming up the side a little. Okay, just like that. Can you see? That's where I've got my adhesive. And now let's kind of let that skate around to get that centered just the way you want it. Okay, we're doing good, we're doing good. Now, the belly band itself. Okay, I've already kind of scored it and positioned it for you a little bit, but don't totally fold it and glue it. You want to have, you want this to be, you don't want it to be too loose that it falls off, but you don't want it to be so tight that it's really hard to slide on and off. So it's not going to, it has just about a little more than 1/4 of an inch overlap. Okay, so glue on one side, bring that belly band around. Yes, it's going to be to the front because we're going to hide this seam with all of our decor. Okay, that way nobody knows where the seam is. It's hidden and nobody knows our mechanics. Okay, so just bring it around, let that set. Now let's look at the pieces that we have here. We have 4 pieces left. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to be doing some stamping and die cutting with the white. We're going to stamp and emboss a Christmas greeting on the evening evergreen. And then we're going to die cut a bunch of snowflakes. So we have basically, there's 4 snowflakes in the dies here. There's 2 of these little mini ones. I'm trying to get them out while I'm holding this one shut still. And let's see, here's this medium. Okay, so we have 2 smalls, a medium, and then the 2 little macro snowflakes, the mini guys. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing with the mint and the blushing bride. We're going to cut all 4 snowflakes out of both pieces. Now, I will tell you, I tried to do both pieces at the same time. It didn't work. I had to go back through and cut the bottom size. Valerie, great to have you here. We will catch you next time. And the replay is here. So, and this is a long class. I know, I'm so sorry that it's going so long, but it's such a good set. Okay, so anyhow, so die cut those and let's stamp our white so that we know what we're going to stamp and die cut on this. So we're going to stamp some snowflakes. We're going to stamp Blushing Bride and Evening Evergreen snowflakes, okay? And we are going to stamp, I believe we're going to stamp 1, 2, I think it's 3. I know it's 3. I was just trying to remember. So we're going to stamp 2 in the Evening Evergreen, and we're going to stamp 1 in Blushing Bride. So here's how you're going to want to line this up though, okay? So move this way, way, way over to the side, okay? And then get this next one as close to it as you can. Then clean your stamp because we don't want to put that green into Blushing Bride. And do 1 Blushing Bride. Okay, I'm tapping into it over here. Sorry, you guys didn't see that. Okay, so, and then from this piece, you're going to do 1, and you're going to do 1. And if you want to do, since this one's here, you don't actually need it, but you could do another one right there if you wanted, okay? So you're going to die cut that, and you need to find your snowflake open die. That's this one right here. And die cut your 3 snowflakes. So I have not die cut mine yet. I've die cut all my other pieces, but not these 3. So I'm going to die cut those. Okay, closing up all the ink pads here. Hopefully you're still with me. We are nearing the very end, you guys, of our very big class. Our very, very big class. I was having too much fun. I didn't want it to end. I'm like, I still have more paper. I'm going to cut them out. I'm going to make stuff. I just wanted to fully explore. Oh, don't shift on me. It's this stupid plate. Hold on, folks. I would have had like snowflakes cut right up the middle. Anyhow, I just wanted to fully explore this set. I've never bought one of these all 4 season sets, so I had to do it right. Okay, come on, go. So this is where my problem with my plate, there we go, being so warped, I can't get it through the machine. All that for 1 snowflake. Okay, so far, I have that guy, but while I was there, even though I already have that one cut, now I have them cut for tomorrow night. Speaking of tomorrow night, I'll put in a plug here. Tomorrow night, we are making these cards again on Zoom, so that way we can be together, we can chat, you can ask questions. It'll be a little more up close and personal, not just a Facebook Live, but we will be making them again. So pop on. 6:30 my time, so that's 6:30 Mountain, and maybe your projects are partially finished. You can come join us and finish them together if you want. And that is the same. The Zoom number is always the same for my classes, and the password is always the same. So if you have any questions, shout out. Hey, Claudia, good to have you here. I just saw that you popped on. We are in the last few stretches here of a very long class. Next time we'll have to do like part 1 and part 2. Okay, here comes the last one. Okay. There you have it. Okay, now we have all of the pieces we need since we've already die cut all of these. Okay, so you've done those, right? Here's mine. I'll bring them into play here. Okay, so I actually have some extra if you cut all the things that I showed you to cut, you will have a few extra, but it just depends on how you want to set up your card and your tag. Because obviously some of the snowflakes that I've used, I've added, you know, a picture in here, and so you may or may not. So I just, you know, have them handy and you can do whatever you'd like with them. Okay, but let's actually make this belly band here. And so to do this belly band, so now I can slide this off. I can leave it on the card. I can design with it there. We're gonna take this ribbon and we're gonna stretch it around, okay? And it's gonna come around and you're gonna trim it to fit, okay? So just trim what you need. And then this will be for the zigzag around it. Okay, I am gonna take the belly band off because I'm gonna use my Stampin' Seal, or you could use your tear and tape, and I'm going to just do right down the middle of this. I'm doing a strip of, and hopefully it's down the middle, and then I'm not too crooked. But that's how I'm gonna hold this on, okay? So I'm gonna start that right there and reach this around right in the center, come around this way, and there you have it. Okay, so that's how I'm putting that ribbon on. Then, before we do the zigzag business, I should probably have ironed this, but that's okay. I am going to put on, so do you remember back at the very beginning with our pink polka dot paper, I told you would need to do 2 out of this paper plus that 3/4 inch strip. So this is where you need to put that, you need to cut that second one, okay? Because that's gonna layer right there. Hopefully, if you're confused with the die cuts, join us tomorrow night or take a close look at the prep work that I posted, okay? So now I'm gonna do a little bit more of that, even some on right on the fabric. So I have a few strips of that so that I can add this right across like so, okay? And that will get covered by the time we add all of our elements. Okay, so now this is gonna fold back and it's going to layer in there like so. So you can do it however you like. I think I actually used a staple in that one, but you know, you could come in here and hold this down however you like to hold it down. You could hold it with, you know, I'm going to go ahead and just do a more seal kind of on a diagonal because I know that it's going to kind of go that way. So if I bring this down, do a little seal there, and then bring this one back up. I can do just a little bit more seal right there, kind of hold this all in place. Or like I said, I kind of folded it last time and I just stapled it. I'm totally cheating it. Okay, so there's that. Okay. And now our circle is going to come right in there and cover all that up. So we can use the circle to hold that in place as well. So we need a greeting for this. Inside the Texture Chic, there is a greeting here about seasons, and this is a great, I think that would be great inside this Christmas card. But I wanted a real definite Christmas greeting. So I'm using A Joyful Christmas to You and Yours. And that is from The Merriest Moments. And this is the set. We did this as a camp last year. This is the set that we're going to focus for Use It Up just in a couple weeks here. So that's what I'm going to be using. So that's why I thought I would pull it out for this greeting here. Let me put it on a block real quick. And we will do some real fast embossing here. So just gold and Versamark. So a quick swish of the embossing buddy, Versamark pad, and let's just stamp that on the center. Pop that in your POW, your powder POW, tidy tray, whatever we're gonna call it these days. I think originally it was called powder POW. Then it was a tidy tray. Now it's just embossing tools. I don't know what they're calling it. Okay, so give that a good flick. Okay, so emboss that in gold. Okay, we'll just quickly get that out of the way. Here comes the heat tool. Some noise, definitely. And again, I like to put a plate underneath so it doesn't make my papers all wrinkly. That's why I do it. There it goes. Okay, I have a little I'm gonna call it overspray, even though it's not overspray, but that's because I was going too fast. But I just love how the gold, I don't know, the gold, the evergreen, and the blush, oh, I just think it's so, I just like it. It's pretty, pretty, pretty. Okay, kind of hold that in place like so. And now I'm gonna add this with glue. Ah, believe it or not, I know what I did. I did dimensionals. Now I remember. I did the dimensionals kind of to the side of the ribbon like this, okay? Because I didn't want so much thickness. So I just kind of spread the wealth here. And now that's gonna layer. And it is offset, like that. And I'm gonna trim this edge. This one's kind of got a long swoopy doop, but that's okay. So we'll trim this one down, and I'm going to trim this one down. Okay. Again, this ribbon is in the annual catalog, and I cannot think of the name of it right now. I don't remember the name. Okay, now it's all about just adding snowflakes all over the place, folks, because we have kind of come to that point. So I won't put that belly band on just yet. But now look at all these snowflakes you have. You can put them everywhere and anywhere. So this is where I'm going to put them on the card though. Let's do the card. I'm going to do this large gold snowflake. Okay. And that one's going to come right there. Okay. And it's kind of, you don't see it super well when you have it against the mesh. But once you bring in your pink, and I'm trying to see where my pink, of all the snowflakes I'm missing the pink one that I want. Okay, there's the medium pink is supposed to go there. Where did it go? Is it in the tray? Nope. Okay, well, I'm gonna cut myself a medium pink because for some reason, of all the snowflakes, the one color that I absolutely need and want is missing. So, let's just give it a quick cut here. Okay, so I need to find the pink paper though. I don't know where, here it is. Okay, real fast. So I want a medium-sized pink snowflake right there. And then once you add that, oh, I found it. There it is. Funny how that happens. Okay, so this is going to go on with a teeny tiny speck of a dimensional. You're like, what? You're crazy, lady. Okay, but look, I have a teeny tiny speck of one right there. Okay, put that in the middle, and you're set to go. Okay. It's petal, is that what it's called? Just petal pink ribbon? Okay. So now by adding that snowflake right in there, these kind of show up just a little bit better, but they're also kind of fanciful. And you don't even know exactly what, you know, I know it's wintry and I love it. Okay, a gold one for this. 2 more snowflakes for this belly band. This one and a medium gold. And my glue is getting really mucky. Muckety muck. Okay. Okay, there's that snowflake right there. Let me take some of this mess out of the way. And this medium snowflake. And I'm going to push all of these out of the way just so that it's not quite so confusing looking. Okay, and this one is also going to glue. I'm going to clean the tip of mine. I use my scrap paper like this, you guys, just to kind of wipe that cloggy, you know, when it starts to get messy like that. Now I can easily put just a little bit there. And this one's going to come into play right about there. And then one of these nice big green is going to tuck under here as well. And I actually have it glued inside the belly band, unless you can reach under far enough, but there's enough stuff in there. I did. I put the glue on the top of the snowflake like this, and it's actually to this part of the belly band. It's just kind of how I did it, folks. I know it's weird, but there you have it. There's the front of the belly band. The last of your pearls go there. And then I'll show you the inside, how you can decorate that however you'd like. It doesn't have to be any specific way, but I'm going to do a small here on the belly band, a small right about here, and then the large, the last large one goes right, whoops, hello, right there. Okay, there it is. Once you know where you like them, put your lid back on and then kind of press them into place. Okay, so now your belly band is finished, okay? And with all of these extra snowflakes and whatnot, you get to decorate your tag and the inside. So in your little bag here, and we're not gonna do this, you can easily, you know, do it on your own just from looking at the pictures in the Facebook group, but I just have some fun layering some of your snowflakes, and then that last little circle here, emboss the love you, or if you have another little, like, you know, greeting you want to put on there. So I embossed the love you, okay, with the gold to kind of match this. And then this piece of this is called seasonal trim, and this is the gold from the seasonal trim. I'm just folding this. It's kind of crazy because it's got a mind of its own. Fold it in half and then poke it through the hole of your tag. So this is a half hitch, and then reach that through, and there you have your tag. And like I say, have fun. You have plenty of snowflakes to add to your tag and then to the inside of your card. And so I'll bring this back in, and you can see, and I kind of moved things around. Once I added the photo, I really moved things around. So I have a few over here, just trying to get a repetition of the color. So we have the white, the gold, the pink, and the evergreen, or sorry, the mint. So just repeating that color throughout, okay? So like I say, you have plenty of stuff now that you've finished your belly band. The rest is to play with the inside and your tag. So hopefully that makes sense. Like I say, if you follow along with the photos online on the Facebook page, group page, you'll be just fine. But come again tomorrow night on Zoom so that we can stamp together if you'd like to finish things up. I know this was a long one because we have all 4 seasons here, but we are done. We've gone through spring, summer, winter, and fall, all with the Texture Chic Suite, and I think it's fabulous. And I'm so glad you were here, and I will catch you all tomorrow night on Zoom. Have a good one.